Today we're going to be talking to our Lithuanian partner and colleague. We're going to be also deep diving into how to visualize and present your impact narrative, your data. So hopefully a practical session. So as I said, the purpose of these deep dive sessions as part of our strategy is to create a space for social enabling organizations and SMEs like yours to familiarize yourself with tools that maybe you've heard of, but you would like to start using in practice in your daily work. That's kind of one of the aspects that we're trying to achieve. And these deep dives aim to reinforce these topics covered across our learning journey. So the fourth session today, it's going to be an hour. Lithuanian DO Impact Perspectives and the Europeana Impact Playbook, visualize and present your impact narrative. Oops, sorry, just skipping through there. So as we've said, the event is being recorded. You've got your cameras and microphones enabled. The idea is that it's kind of a more intimate, informal space. There will be an opportunity for you to also speak and ask questions if you want to. Feel free to raise your hand if you would like to speak, and I'll give specific moments during the hour where you're welcome to give your own thoughts or ideas, or just ask questions. We've got the We Do Impact hashtag, and we've also got our LinkedIn page, which is where most information about the project and what we've been doing is shared. So sorry, the slide shift is working a little bit haphazardly. So my two invitees today are Aurelija. Aurelija, please pronounce your surname. I will not attempt this.
Sure. Aurelija Prašmuntaitė.
Aurelija Prašmuntaitė. She's project manager and a key member of our consortium for DO Impact as part of the partner organization Lithuanian Social Business Association, LISVA, working across the 2 years with our consortium. And today's special guest is Jason Evans, Open Data Manager at the National Library of Wales. Maybe just a few words about both of them before we go on. So Aurelija works as a project manager, and she's been working hard on both the national and international initiatives that help to strengthen social entrepreneurship and the whole ecosystem linked and connected to that. So LISVA are, so to speak, social economy enabling organization and national actor. Her role involves overseeing activities all the way from idea to implementation and working closely with diverse partners across diverse sectors to ensure that projects actually translate not only from what's written on paper, but actually to that practical value for social enterprises and public institutions and local communities. And that's part of the initial part of this conversation, is a little bit to understand how that happened with DO Impact in Lithuania. Aurelija said, through DO Impact in Lithuania, I see how combining digital tools, data and collaboration empowers social economy actors to strengthen their impact, be more visible in digital field, and use some of these great tools as we're going to be presenting today as well. And Jason's based in Wales. He's Open Data Manager and AI Lead at the National Library of Wales. And he's managed for over a decade now projects to improve content on the Welsh language Wikipedia. Okay, so that's quite interesting. It's kind of a deep dive into using data within the cultural sector. He works to advocate for open access within the cultural sector. So that's quite interesting as we're revisiting that on today's deep dive. And this has been mentioned quite a lot during our learning journey, this idea of using open data, but also not only using it, but also the challenges and the reality behind something like that. And he works to support the sharing of knowledge in smaller language languages and about underrepresented groups, which I hope will resonate with the work that some of you are also doing in your local communities and contexts. He's developed processes for transforming library metadata in rich linked open data and connecting knowledge across languages, data sets and organizations. He also advises the Welsh government on Welsh language data. Currently, in addition, sits on the Europeana Members Council and chairs the Europeana Impact Community and Steering Group. And if you haven't heard of that, we'll speak about that a little bit later on today, and a tool connected to that, which I would like to share. So, just a quick overview of the agenda for today. First of all, we'll kind of deep dive a little bit into what's been happening in Lithuania. In each deep dive, we've been revisiting one of the locations of our project. Today, it's Lithuania. And then we've got a session with Jason when he's going to present some of his knowledge and hopefully, in a practical way, share what strategies and tools he uses for presenting impact data, and how we can actually do that in an engaging and visually pleasing way. And we've got a moment for Q&A and wrap up as well. Okay. So over to my conversation with you, Aurelija. I was wondering, you've been doing quite a lot of interesting things linked to DO Impact locally in Lithuania. Could you give a short overview? And maybe what would be interesting is, okay, you've got the project, right? We have the KPIs. There's something we need to deliver. You know your local ecosystem. How do you go about designing the content of these local workshops and capacity building sessions that you held locally to specifically support the needs of your ecosystem of social economy SMEs in Lithuania to help them strengthen their digital strategies and data-driven practices? So how do you go from that theoretical thing to putting something into practice that made sense to your community?
Thank you, Aneta, for the question. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here and share my knowledge and experience. So answering this question, maybe I wanted to start with that since we are here connected from all different countries around Europe, so our level where we start from is very different. So in Lithuania, I would say that there were no systematic program or systematic tool set where, for example, social businesses could turn to when facing some kind of digital challenges challenges in the digitalization. Yeah, so the DO Impact was a boost, really the boost we needed to help ourselves to understand at what level we are, to identify our community challenges and try to measure and try to program what we need to overcome those challenges. So in Lithuania, we had 4 very successful workshops for our internal audience, and they were highly visited and all of them were based by the needs that were represented by the social economy actors themselves. We had a survey, had those needs, and then delivered this program. I don't know, I could say that one of the primary focus of ours was to understand how under-resourced some organizations, some social businesses were, what kind of information overload some of them faces, because living in this environment of information overload, sometimes it's very hard to choose right tools and right strategies for your organization. So we had a lot of discussions in this topic. But everything went really well. All those 4 workshops were great.
And we can also share the links to those past programs, but it looks like you covered a lot of aspects, including AI analytics. And
Yes, digital strategic digital transformation, then resources for enhancing digital knowledge and improvement of organizational capacity, and data collection and social impact measurements using AI tools. So some of our workshops were really focused towards practical use of AI tools on the daily life, like on the daily work, how to, for example, collect data and then measure the social impact using already existing AI tools. That was very practical one.
I guess the nice thing about DO Impact is that it's a transversal project, right? It brings together social economy organizations from different sectors, because this topic of data and use of data and digitalization is really like a cross-cutting capacity. So maybe it was also an opportunity to bring your community together, right? And to deepen those contacts. I don't know if you saw it that way as well.
Yes, but on the one hand, I would also say that some of our community members, they are still a little bit afraid of using a lot of online digital tools. So I would also highlight maybe those brave ones who want to grow. Those came, and those were very active and very eager to know. But I still see the struggle how to include organizations who are not so brave, or people working there, they are not so on the same level of digitalization and all related questions.
Okay, and how are you, as we kind of move forward with the project and it comes to an end, how are the outcomes of these Lithuania workshops, but also the transnational ones that have fed into it, expected to actually encourage like this broader digital transformation and data adoption efforts across social economy sector in Lithuania and beyond, perhaps in your region?
So at the moment, it's still quite hard to see or to answer this question. I would say that it need a little bit more time to evaluate the impact, as this our project also offers very good impact evaluation strategy. So I'm looking forward, after the whole project, to do this questionnaire of participants. So how are, all these learning journey helped you to strengthen your capacities and so on. But as coming back to the challenges that we have here in Lithuania, as I mentioned in the beginning, that we don't have like one single systematic program, I would really see the experience LISVA, Lithuanian Social Association, gained from the DO Impact project, that would become a starting point to build some, systematic platform for helping our social entrepreneurs in Lithuania, because sometimes they don't have where to turn to with their questions. We have 2 institutions in Lithuania that are offering something similar. It's innovation agency, so the name really tells that they are responsible for the spread of innovations, but the social entrepreneurs are not their key audience, and the LISVA Lithuanian Social Business Association works especially with the social entrepreneurs, and so we just strengthened ourselves in this digitalization topic, and yeah, the impact was something we really needed.
I think you also touch on a super important point that has been reaffirmed in this project, that as social economy organizations, we can't be out of that mainstream conversation around data, around digitalization, around AI and everything that kind of includes, right? So we've been talking a lot about ethical approach, human-centered approach to the use of all these tools. And we've identified across the learning journey how key our sector is to that, not as an add-on, not as a sidelined voice, but actually putting ourselves on the main stage and being a key actor in the way we use, design, and propagate these tools. And maybe Do Impact has been an opportunity to empower our kind of organizations to take that space, right? Just to mention that, for example, when we were in Barcelona with our transnational workshop, the project was kind of on the main stage of the World Mobile Congress. So, being a key actor and not a sidelined actor, I think that's what this project has been about as well, and how important that is. Okay. Thank you, Aurelija. Just last question to you. You hosted and organized, I should say, I believe it was the 6th. We've now had 7, and we've got the final one in Brussels, transnational workshop. It was called Using Data to Tell a Digital Impact Story. Could you just give us a quick take on what happened there? And also it's a nice link to today's guest with Jason, where we're going to go a bit deeper on some of the...
Yeah. Thank you, Aneta. I really liked this one, this transnational workshop. It was really interesting in terms of that we had this super important topic, how to use data, raw data, and transform it to tell some kind of interesting digital impact story, in social medias and online platforms and so on. But what we did, we looked to this topic from a very a human approach point of view. We invited psychologists, psychotherapists actually, who explained us how people perceive the information they see on the social channels. And he talked about trust, how to build this trust in online channels, which is not easy. Because now the overload of information, times of uncertainty, and the thought that I took away with me was about how to build trust being online. So the thought was, trust online is not built by sounding important. It is built by being clear, being human, and being provable. So it means that main message was, when we talk about the things that our social, that our organizations do, we don't have to forget that we have to include this being human part, and tell this story from the perspective that behind all the programs, all the nice works done, there's still some humans working. So it's very, very, very nice thing to remember. And also this workshop was a digital storytelling festival presented. So our other speaker, Beth Daly, she presented 2 days online event, which gathers the most influential storytellers, online storytellers across Europe. And also Beth presented 7 storytelling tips, which were very practical tool for everyone who are constructing their social business story in social media channels. So you can just take these 7 tips and with the help of them construct a more interesting social business story. And also want to share what thought I took with me from Beth's presentation about the digital storytelling. Beth said that if you are not using stories, you are working too hard. So you have to tell story, and then everything becomes clearer, as I understood. So this is a short overview what we had. It was very interesting, and in chat, I believe you will have a link to access the information, presentations from that workshop. So yeah, take a look. There's practical things. There's interesting thoughts to think about, And today we have this wonderful guest of ours, Jason, who is also connected with the Europeana organization that Aneta will tell you a bit more. We got all together in this last workshop, so very happy to continue a little bit the topic today.
Thank you, Aurelija. That's really nice the way you summarized what's been going on. And also, I think this reminder, that it's better to be authentic than to make up an important, unauthentic. Often what we read on LinkedIn, for example, in my mind, can sometimes be unauthentic, right? So reminding ourselves to be authentic organizations. So for the deep dive, I'm going to pass over to Jason. But before I give the word to him fully in terms of taking us through what he would like to share with us today, I wanted to ask you, Jason, so you live in Wales. Which city do you live in? You live in...
So it's a town actually, and yeah, strangely, the National Library of Wales is not in the capital city. It's in a small town on the coast in mid Wales called Aberystwyth, and I live near there.
And is that a deliberate choice to have it located there?
Yes. So there was a National Museum and a National Library founded at the same time. The National Museum went to the capital city, which is right at the south of Wales. And there was a strong argument at the time, this was 120 years ago, that if you put both of them in the capital city right in the south, it disadvantaged a large number of people in the country not being able to access that kind of cultural knowledge. So they put it bang slap in the middle in Aberystwyth, which also happened to be where one of the main donors for the National Library lived. So I think that might have had some bearing on where it ended up.
And you're quite a big university town, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The population, almost doubles when the university students come back every year. So.
Okay. So I just wanted to ask you, because you've spent quite a long time and many years connecting cultural heritage data across languages, institutions, and platforms. Could you give an example where linked open data created an impact that perhaps surprised even you? I know you work specifically for Welsh language or underrepresented communities. Yeah.
So, the main reason for the work that I do is to make cultural heritage data more accessible in Wales and accessible in Welsh, so that Welsh speakers aren't disadvantaged in sort of accessing cultural heritage knowledge. But one thing that surprised me is as we kind of built up this corpus of open data, bilingual open data, other people were using it too. So one example of something that happened was the National Welsh Television Company in Wales used a lot of our data to create this quiz app. So it was called Quiz Pob D, which means sort of everyday quiz. And people could download it on their phone, and it had a bank of thousands and thousands of questions in Welsh and multiple choice answers. And there was like leaderboards, and people could ask questions, and you had like a historical picture of a town, and you had to guess which town it was, or you'd have a place name and you had to guess where it was on the map. And all that data comes from our collections, but it was being used in a way that we hadn't imagined it could be used, but in a really engaging way. And I think those kind of examples of our data being reused is the best way of showing impact, right? Because you've got something so tangible, like as an outcome for, we did this, and this is a positive change for society that's come out of it. And it's a really clear way of showing the benefit of the work that we had done to curate all that data and make it available openly.
That's fantastic. And in a way also, gratifying, no? That you can see it being actually used in practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of organizations collect metrics. I think all of us working in the social economy as enabling organizations, we have to collect quite a lot of metrics linked to our projects and programs, KPIs. And that's on the one side, but fewer can communicate meaningful impact, right? To our stakeholders, back to our funders, back in developing new partnerships, or simply just talking about the impact story we want to communicate. Europeana Impact Playbook, perhaps my colleague can put the link in the chat as well. You've been working on this playbook, on this toolbook. From your experience, what separates good reporting from genuinely persuasive storytelling about digital heritage projects? In your case, no heritage projects.
Yeah, so I think, good reporting is, having lots of data, all the data points that you need collected and available, so the data is there for people. I think the difference, in terms of kind of being really persuasive is kind of as Aurelija has kind of alluded to already, it's those kind of personal stories. It's being able to make that data available in a way that's relatable, so people can really kind of understand, the real benefits of something. Like the example I just gave, this app was created, and there's 20,000 Welsh speakers playing this quiz game every day. Perhaps, some little interviews with people that play it. What do they get out of using that game? That would be, for me, a really nice example of showing the true value of something beyond just the kind of the numbers involved. And that's something that we're thinking about a lot as an institution, but also at a government level in Wales. We've got this really interesting piece of legislation in Wales called the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. Mm-hmm. And that act asks for all publicly funded bodies in Wales to be able to report on a number of kind of qualitative metrics. So being able to show things like how they're helping communities in Wales to thrive, how they're supporting the development of the Welsh language, how they're being resilient with their technology. So they're much more kind of qualitative, real world changes and benefits that they're asking organizations to feed back on, which is fantastic, because in our experience, the kind of old fashioned metrics, hits on websites, number of people through a door of a building, don't capture all the real kind of value of the activities that organizations are doing.
That's fantastic. And it's challenging, right? It requires longer term kind of data collection, but it just makes so much more sense. And if those public officers, in addition, are aligned in the way they're doing that, then that holistic story will be so much more of use, right?
Yes.
That's really Great, and thank you for those opening, setting the scene kind of what you do. It sounds really exciting, but without delaying further, can I go to the next slide and over to you, because I know there's quite a lot there.
Yes, fantastic. Yeah, thank you. So I'll I want to take you through initially just to kind of set the scene with the Europeana Playbook and how it can be used for kind of planning your projects and planning the way that you want to be collecting data. And then we'll go into the kind of the nitty-gritty of how we can visualize that, how we can best present that data and the kind of tools that are available to do that. So I'm the Open Data Manager at the National Library. This is the National Library of Wales, you can see here. And you can see it's quite a rural location. So digital has been a massive part of what we do for a long time in terms of widening access and making our content available as widely as possible. So my role really focuses on how we can get the best reach, the best engagement with our digital content. And we've been using AI and all sorts of tools to kind of help us do that. So I want to give you a very, very brief case study of a project where we've used the Europeana Playbook, Impact Playbook, to plan how we're going to get to the kind of impact goals that we want, and then how we're going to kind of visualize that as well. So, with me, I'm just finding my notes. If we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So this was the People of Wales Wiki project. So this was a project aimed at getting people engaging with Welsh content about Welsh people on Wikipedia, creating open data, connecting things like portraits for Welsh people that we have in our collection, things like that. So we had a kickoff project, and we had a workshop where we invited a range of staff from different disciplines to take part. And the aim was really to identify our stakeholders. So it's really important within the Impact Playbook to think about who your stakeholders are, and then use some of the tools in the playbook, like the empathy map, to try and understand what are the kind of pains and gains for each stakeholder group. What are they feeling? What are they thinking when they're engaging with this content? And what do we need to do to make that experience good for them? Go to the next slide. So once we had our key stakeholders identified, and we then worked on kind of understanding, okay, what are the impacts that we want to achieve for each of those stakeholder groups? And then we mapped it out. So this picture you see here is what's called a change pathway. And this is a key element of the Impact Playbook. So you kind of start at one end with your stakeholders, and at the other end with your impacts. And in between is how you get there. So you need to work out what resources you need, what activities you need to do, what are the kind of outputs of those activities, and how does that lead then to specific outcomes and the kind of wider change or impact that you want to see for each of those groups. So we went through this process for each of our stakeholder groups for this project. And if we go to the next slide, you can see the kind of tidied, finished change pathway that has our 4 stakeholder groups, the impacts at the other end. And so what you end up with is a kind of project plan that you can see exactly what you need to do as part of this project now to achieve those impacts. And then if we go to the next slide, we've kind of tacked a bit on to the end of this change pathway. And one thing I'll say about the Impact Playbook is it's really flexible. You can use it, parts of it, you can adapt it to suit your needs. And that's exactly what we did here. So we said, well, it's all very well having the kind of project plan, but we also want to have a plan for how we're going to measure the impacts that we expect to see as a result of this work. So we've added a measurements note column and a measurement tools column so that we can think about what it is we need to capture to prove the impact, and then what kind of tools do we need to collect that data. So that might be technical tools, matrix that collect metrics from websites, or tools, how many views of images that we've shared with the project, or it might be something more qualitative like questionnaires or interviews with representatives of our stakeholder groups. And next slide. So some of the outputs of this project was a large amount of shared open data that was then available for people to use. We held a public hackathon to start engaging people with that data. We released digital content on Wikimedia Commons on an open license so that there was digital material available for people to use. And we held a number of events in schools. So now we get to how do we present the findings of this project, the outcomes? How do we show the benefits of this in the kind of striking way, in a way that people can understand? And some of the best ways of visualizing that kind of data are the simplest ways. Keep it simple. So here you can see the green. This is a number of editors on the Welsh language Wikipedia. And during our project is the green section, and you can see they were the highest they'd been for 3 or 4 years. As a result, during our project, the viewing numbers were higher, and that just kind of shows the clear kind of change benefit of engaging people with Wikipedia as part of the project. And then this goes back to what I was saying about that kind of human element. So often, just a picture of a person and a quote, how being engaged in the project affected them, can be a really powerful way of demonstrating the impact of the work. So there's just a short quote here from someone who took part in one of the schools, and that kind of snippet is really powerful, I think. So here we've got some kind of long form text with some statistics, but we've also got this really nice word cloud. And I've found word clouds a really nice way of pulling together feedback from participants in projects. So here we asked students that took part in Wikipedia events to share, each of them to share a couple of words that described how they felt taking part in the project. And then we built all that into a word cloud so that you could kind of get a sense of what it was people were feeling as a result of taking part in this project. And as you can see, we had lots of proud and happy students who took part in this work. So we put all this data into an impact report that takes you through all the different kind of areas of impact that we were able to measure. So we've used, again, more kind of quotes and images of people that have been involved, also various types of graphs and charts. And if we go to the next slide, you can see we did an infographic as well. And infographics are a great way of getting a lot of data into one visualization that people can then spend a bit more time going over and looking through. So these are really about trying to kind of make lots of perhaps quite complex data as visually appealing as possible so that people are more engaged with it. And I've got another example on the next slide of an infographic that we did for me doing 10 years of Wikipedia in our organization recently. And as you can see, there's lots of data on this visualization, but it's also impactful. You've got this kind of visual element in the middle that draws you in, and then we've used different kind of graphics for displaying data in different ways all around the infographic, including a timeline at the bottom there. So yeah, these can be a really great way of drawing people in. So the map visualization, these are one thing I've learned through the years is that people engage really well with maps, with geographic-based data visualizations, because they can relate to it. You know, people will focus on perhaps the part of the map where they live, places they've been involved with their work, and it's a really engaging way of presenting data. So this map shows where people in our collection were born and where they were educated, and you can see there's massive links to London there and different places. So you can see patterns in the data really nicely with map-based visualizations, and we'll talk a bit more about how we can create map-based visualizations in a minute. Next slide. This is a visualization that was designed to show how we'd been able to connect publishers and data about publishers with the publications that they produced. And these are mostly like newspapers and journals. And the reason I've included this is really to show that although you can zoom in and read this, sometimes it's about kind of stepping back and just seeing this. Well, this kind of demonstrates the scale of the work that we did. And so it's as much about kind of showing that scale as it is about getting down into the nitty-gritty of that data. Next slide. And again, this was designed to show how we were creating those links between collections that we held. So you can see here that we're creating links between images, archives in our collection, and printed material. So you can't see the individual items here, but again, this kind of demonstrates that linked data and the value of connecting collections across different disciplines in quite a kind of pretty way. And the next slide is even more abstract. So this is the kind of larger knowledge graph that we created as part of one of our projects, showing the data points and the connections between them. So the data points are the orange and the connections between them are blue. So again, this is really about showing the scale of the work rather than digging down into specific data points, and it still can be pretty powerful. Okay, so let's get on to individual tools. So in terms of using things like producing infographics, Canva is one of the best tools around at the moment. It makes this work really easy. There's lots of preset templates, like you can see here, and you can input your own data into those templates. There's different themes that you can follow, or you can start completely from scratch. And Canva allows you to create all sorts of graphics. Infographics is just one of the things you can do in it. And we'll show you at the end, if we have time, a snippet of a video. You can even create videos with animations using Canva. The other thing you can do with this is you can plug in a spreadsheet to Canva and it will update your data live. So you can have an infographic that changes and updates as you feed new data into it. So that could save a lot of work in the long term if you've got data that's likely to be changing over time. Okay. Another tool I like to use for infographics that's more focused specifically on infographics is Pictochart. So both of these tools have a free tier and a paid tier, but you can do quite a lot, particularly with this one on the free tier. There's lots of tools available, and again, you get lots of different templates, lots of different types of charts that you can feed data into to present your data in useful ways. And in the last year or so, they've been adding lots of AI functionality into this as well that allows you to do things like create custom graphics and logos, so that you can really create something that feels like your own. Next slide. Okay, so in years gone by, I had to find tools online to do every type of data visualization that I wanted to do. These days, AI can do a lot of more simple data visualization for you. So for the word cloud, for example, you can now just take a simple spreadsheet, a CSV, and with your data in, feed it into one of the large language models, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, and give it instructions. And the key, as with all kind of AI, is in the prompting, being specific with your prompt about what you want it to output. And it will create a visualization based on the data that you've given it. So this word cloud was an output using the prompt that you can see on the screen there. And I used Copilot to do this. And it does a great job of presenting the data. I also asked it to take some geographic data I had. So I had some coordinates and some points for specific data. And I asked it to create a map visualization for me. And you can see the prompt I used here. What it's actually created here is a HTML page with an interactive map. So you can actually go and zoom around this map. You click on the data points and get the labels to see what they are. And it did this with one prompt in a matter of seconds. And you can create these kind of interactive map-based data visualizations very, very quickly. So AI is increasingly a really powerful tool for creating all sorts of types of data visualization. Another great tool for map-based data visualization is Google Maps. So you can create custom maps within Google Maps, and you can give it a spreadsheet with your data, and there's all sorts of kind of customization that you can do, and you can create a custom map. This one has all place names in Wales that have a Christmas-related name. And we just put this out one Christmas so that people could kind of explore and zoom in and look, and you can use different map backgrounds. So again, that's a very kind of easy, you don't need a huge amount of technical knowledge to use this to create a map, and it's very sustainable because it's maintained by Google and it just sits there on your Google account and you can share it as and when. It can also be embedded into other websites. For really complex map-based visualization, Carto is a very powerful tool. You can try this for free, but to access a lot of the functionality, you do have to pay for this one. There are some open source alternatives, but I found them a bit more technically challenging to use. But this allows you to create some really powerful map-based data visualizations. The one I showed you earlier with all the relational lines between people born in Wales and where they were educated, that was produced using this tool. You can create kind of animated maps with transportation links and things like that on it. So this would be a good tool to use if you want to do more advanced map-based visualization. Obviously, we use a lot of graph-based data in our organization. So for kind of complex data visualization like graph, Gephi is a really nice tool. It's a free open source piece of software that you download to your laptop. And you can kind of put in your nodes and your edges in a kind of tabular format, and it produces these visualizations, and they're highly customizable so that you can kind of make your data pretty and visual. And you can do this with a small number of data points to kind of demonstrate links between specific things, or you can create the kind of large knowledge graph visualizations like the examples I showed you earlier on that are more kind of for kind of visual impact rather than analyzing the data specifically. So if we go to the next slide, this was one of the visualizations that I created with that Gephi tool that just shows that knowledge graph that we've been building in our organization. And the next one. And this again demonstrates relationships between people that we're able to extrapolate with AI from a data set that we had in our institution. Again, really, this kind of is about demonstrating scale and demonstrating connectivity rather than focusing on granular data. Next. This is a brilliant completely free data visualization tool that I use a lot in my work. It allows you to input data as tabular data, as a CSV or as a JSON. It allows you to put data in lots of different formats. You could upload a data set or literally copy and paste data into this. And it has this huge range of visualizations that you can then do with that data, from simple bar and pie charts to, you know, Gantt charts. If you've got kind of time-based data, for example, or connections between things, you can do all sorts of really pretty graphs with this, and they're all really customizable. You can change the colors. There's a lot of options here, and I just think it's a brilliant free tool. I've not come across anything with that range of functionality that's completely free like this. So I would definitely recommend checking out Raw Graphs. These are some of the examples of work that I've done with Raw Graphs. So again, a simple kind of bar chart like that. If we go to the next slide, this is a frequency-based kind of bubble chart. So if you've got, it allows you to show which data appears most frequently within a data set. And then the next one shows you how you can kind of group by data by subgroup or subcategory. So here we've got things like we're categorizing content in our collection. So we've got written works, and then the types of written works, and then the actual items in our collection that fit into that category. So it's a really kind of nice granular way of showing categorized data. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if we've got the video. If we just show a few seconds of this, just to show, this shows what Canva can do in terms of animated graphics. This was all created in Canva. You can import video clips and sound, and then you can add in
Wikibase
animations.
Wikibase is the software which powers Wikidata, and you can use it to make your own linked open database. It's a bit like having an empty version of Wikidata. You can then build your own custom data structure to suit your own data set. Whether it's data about witches, cheeses, churches, or rocket ships, you can customize your Wikibase to suit your needs. Like Wikidata, you can add your data in multiple languages, and you can link to and display media from Wikimedia Commons, whilst creating the custom properties you need to describe your dataset. Wikibase is developed and maintained by the
There we go. I think that gives you
either host
an overview of what it can do.
Wikibase Suite, or you can use Wikibase Cloud, a pre-packaged cloud-hosted version that you can set up in under 5 minutes. Best of all, both versions are GDPR compliant, flexible, open source, and free. Wikibase is a space to edit and curate information in a structured way to help you transform your data into meaningful knowledge. You will have full control over who can edit your database, so you can build it on your own or give access to others to collaborate, or if you want to crowdsource. You can also apply a range of licenses to your data to set out how others can reuse it. Just like Wikidata, your Wikibase will come with its own upload tools to help you get your data in. It also has a search function, a query service, and an API for exploring and getting your data out. So your Wikibase can be a front end for people to access your data directly, or simply a database in a larger stack to power apps or websites. You can even align your data to Wikidata in order to query and access data across both datasets, a process called federated query. Eventually, the Wikimedia Foundation hope to make all Wikibase instances interoperable in this way. Presenting your data as linked open data also makes it easier for machines, including AI models, to contextualize and make sense of your data. So whether you use it to manage the flow of data between Wikidata and your own systems, as a standalone database to store and give access to your own curated data sets, or a place to collaborate with colleagues, friends, or communities, Wikibase offers a sustainable, secure, well-supported and low-cost platform for hosting your data as rich linked data. For more information, check out Wikibase or Wikibase Cloud today.
There we go. I know that came across a bit like an advert for Wikibase, but I hope that just demonstrates what you can achieve with Canva relatively easily without too much stress. It's a very powerful tool for all sorts of data visualization. I guess if I could make one final point, it would be that AI is great for doing the data visualizations. I also increasingly turn to large language models to kind of get an idea of what tools are out there, because obviously there's lots more than what I've just shown you. And it's a great way of being able to say, this is the data I have, this is what I'm hoping to do with it, to visualize. What tools would you recommend? And it's a great way of getting to know what tools are out there to do different types of visualization. And
by that, you mean actually, who would you do that consultation with an AI tool itself? Or
yes, yeah, with one of the large language models like ChatGPT or Copilot or something.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go back to sharing the screen. I would really like to thank you. Across this project, we've had an ask from stakeholders to get to know tools, to really have like a practical example of what can we use. There's often this message, we don't have a lot of resources, there's lack of finance to buy these tools. So it's great to see that, there's so much out there that you don't have to always pay for. And I think you've just, in that short time, Canva, Pictograph, I was taking notes, Carto, Gephi, raw graphs. I mean, there's a wealth of information. And I think it's also time that we challenge ourselves as the consortium of this project to use those tools when we start reporting about the impact that we hope to make over these 2 years. So just opening up to anyone in the audience with us, are there any questions or comments that you would like to make? Either to Jason or Aurelija, or in general, like sharing from your own work. And if not, I think we're also a little bit slightly over time. So before we end, firstly, again, thank you to both Aurelija and Jason, especially you for joining us here. And bringing your wealth of knowledge and the way you work with data. And also, I think, showing what we've been trying to demonstrate in the project, but I think you highlight it really nicely, this human side, right? Your job title, often maybe we associate data just with numbers, but actually there are people and stories behind that, and that human side, which I think you bring to your work and you've demonstrated nicely just now. I would like to plug the final conference and our final transnational workshop taking place in Brussels in July, 7th and 8th July. We're going to be reimagining our digital future, thinking about inclusive innovation beyond tech power brokers. So how can we actually, bring something else into this space? The conference is taking place at the European Economic and Social Committee in Brussels. And then on the 8th, we've got a more hands-on transnational workshop, kind of finalizing our learning journey. The QR code there, please feel free to scan and have a look at more information. We've extended the call for 1 more week up to the 1st of June. So you are welcome to apply if you're a social economy enabling organisation or a social economy SME. And there is financial support available to fund your travel to Brussels. So have a look and please do apply this week if you are still interested. And with that, I'd like to thank you all on behalf of our consortium. As you can see, all the partners here, and the next deep dive will be announced shortly, so we hope to see you there. Anything else, Aurelija? Have I missed anything or anything else to add?
No, Aneta, thank you for such a nice overview. And yeah, just I wanted to say that in chat there are some very useful links, so people can go there and see our work, what we and I and Jason are doing and working on. So, and if anyone will have questions, we are open, I believe, to communicate.
Thank you. Have a nice rest of your Tuesday, and hopefully see you all soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.